Hey, how are you guys doing today? I have 3 ankle biters. They're all growing up though now. My son's actually taller than me. So, hey, I want to let you know that the views and opinions expressed by me are exactly those of this mortgage company. So anything I say, just picture it coming directly out of the mouth of the loan officer that you're working with. So if you find something I say offensive, it's not me, it's them. Just kidding. Well, how are we doing today? How's it out there in Sheboygan? It's good, I hope.
Good.
Can you guys hear me?
We muted ourselves. We went into interrupting.
Oh, okay. It's kind of funny. My I don't think it's that close to you guys. Maybe it is, but my old roommate. I live out in California, Northern California, and I went to UC Davis. And my roommate was from Cudahy, Wisconsin. And so when I was going to Davis, I got 4 years of listening to everything about how wonderful Wisconsin is. So I had an opportunity to ride a motorcycle across the country, and I actually went through Cudahy, and I've subsequently been to Wisconsin about a half a dozen times now. And it's just, I've been up to Appleton. I've been up to Green Bay. I did a speaking gig up there at Lambeau Field, which was really cool. And I got to run with the sausages at Miller Park. And I don't know if you have it out there, but Cops Cold Custard, is it? Do you guys have Cops out there? That place ought to be franchised across the country. They'd make a killing. They'd make an absolute killing. So anyways, I love Wisconsin, man. You guys, I'd love it out there. Okay, so we're going to go over really the push of today is going to be getting small with your business. That's going to be of paramount importance as we're going forward in 2023 and 24. And here's the reason I say it. We've gotten the mindset in real estate and lending that we have to go big and we need to match like what the huge companies are doing, the Redfins out there, the Open Doors, the Rocket Mortgages, these huge companies. But what they do is they have to go big because they don't have an option. Like they don't know the people that you know in your community. They don't know the person who's, the coach of your kid's soccer team. They don't know, the people who you go to church with, where you get coffee. They can't go small, so they have to go big. But we in the industry have decided that we have to mimic that. And what I've seen happen so much is we'll get these CRMs and these drip campaigns and these very, very impersonal ways of marketing. And frankly, for an individual real estate agent, it's wildly ineffective. I think we like to do it for 2 reasons. The first one is because we think if we have a huge list and we're marketing to them and we're dripping on them all the time, that it's going to be effective. But it also takes us out of the equation and it keeps us from having those uncomfortable conversations. But those uncomfortable conversations are the very conversations that are going to get you business. Now, as a real estate agent right now, there's 400,000 agents right now who didn't do a deal last year. 400,000 real estate agents didn't do a deal last year. Your average real estate agent is doing 1/2 of one transaction per year. So to say that real estate agents are starving right now is very accurate. It's very accurate. So we need to set expectations differently. We're not going to have a conversation about how we're going to close, 10 more deals per month. We're going to talk about how we can close 1 more deal per month. I'm not going to tell you how you can make things impersonal and make them easy and boy, you only have to work a 20-hour work week to make things work. No, we're not going to have that conversation at all. You have to work an honest 40 hours a week. You have to work an honest 40 hours a week. But if we go about this the right way, it doesn't necessarily have to be painful. Frankly, it could be kind of fun. And it will engage us in our community. So I'm going to share a few things with you guys.
Are you wanting to share your screen?
I do. If somebody can hand that off to me, that'd be cool. What's the weather like out there?
About 40 degrees. Very close.
I have a friend in Duluth, Minnesota, and every time I talk with him, I'm like, what's the weather out there? I went out and I spoke with him and his wife one time. I said, how is it out here? Because it was beautiful. I went there in spring, and his wife goes, There's not snow on the ground for 2 months. And I started laughing. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's crazy. However, we live at the foot of the Sierra Nevada mountain ranges. And right now the base of the mountains is the base is at 35 feet. So if you have a house up there, it's completely covered. Okay. Can we screen share yet? Oh, here we go. Good. All right. I was sharing silly puns with my daughter. That's what that is. Oh, excuse me. All right. Okay. I always like to share this slide because it means a lot to me. Have you ever heard the saying, fishing for minnows off the back of a whale? What that is that we're missing the greatest opportunities because we're simply not looking in the right spots. And so when I found this picture, this really kind of reminds me what's happening in real estate and lending so often is we are simply looking in the wrong spots. A couple of simple points about Sheboygan is your median sales price for your house right now is $187,331. You're up 11.3%, which by the way is significantly higher than where you've been. You're basically tracking exactly as the rest of the country is in terms of your values. Not necessarily, I mean, just in terms of your appreciation, the percentage of your appreciation, of course, there are different price points, but you're up 11.3%. Here's what it looks like right now. Now, affordability is always the problem. And we can see if we go back to 06, you know, the average, the median sales price for a house was probably somewhere around $90,000. And, you know, now we're pushing 200,000. Now, here's the point. Whenever I go somewhere, I always want to see like what it would take for a civil servant to buy an average house. So could a civil servant buy an average house in Sheboygan? The median income for a person in Sheboygan is $30,000. Now that's hard sledding, isn't it? I mean, that would be hard to do. So it doesn't matter like what you're making is, can you afford where you're at? Well, there's some good news on the horizon right now. So bankruptcies are up 20% year over year. Now we may see that as a bad thing, but I would propose it's not necessarily bad. It could be a good thing. Now, most economists are calling for property values to drop by at least 15% this year and could go even further down. Further, most of the great rate prognosticators are talking about rates going back down into the fives, maybe the high fours or the low fives. Now, if we see property values drop by 15 to 20%, and we see bankruptcies increasing, people who own homes who have bankruptcies are going to sell those homes. And what that means is inventory. And frankly, when we have people who are staying in houses right now who are not making their payments, that means they're not paying their taxes, which means they're not participating with the greater good for the people in Sheboygan. It would be better to put somebody in these homes who can actually make the payment, but more importantly for me and you, to pay those taxes. So with property values dropping, with foreclosures going up, and rates going down, that starts to create a market to where you guys can start to turn inventory. And this is, like I said, a good place to be because all we're simply doing is we're getting rid of the dead weight, the people who are not making their payment, who are not paying their taxes, and we're going to replace them with people who are paying their taxes. And that's better for your community, and it's better for you, it's better for your school, it's better for your municipalities, it's better for everybody. And this is a direction we're going. And frankly, there's nobody who's disagreeing with it. The question really becomes, where are you going to participate in this game as the market starts to change? Now, we're still going to see about 20% attrition, 30% attrition. That means 20 to 30% of realtors are just going to get out of the game. Same thing with lenders. But is that necessarily a bad thing? I mean, frankly, with 1.6 million agents across the country right now, we could do with getting rid of about 400,000 of them. You know, those agents who didn't do a deal or did like one deal last year, wouldn't it be good to get rid of them? Because they'll trip over a deal and they'll take it away from the full-time professional real estate agent. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I see everything that's taking place right now as positive for the market. These are corrections that should have taken place a long time ago. Bring affordability back. Let's go ahead and get rid of the dead weight. Let's pave the way for good full-time agents. Now, how are agents going to succeed as we're going forward? Let me explain this to you. Now, I found this fascinating. Now, you know that Zillow lost $574 million when they got out of the iBuying game, because evidently that Zillow algorithm didn't work as well as they thought it did. Could you imagine that one algorithm, one size fits all for every house in the entire country, as if every market is exactly the same? Turns out it's not. In fact, I'll bet you in Sheboygan, you probably have 2 or 3 separate markets there. Every community has that. But Zillow had a one-size-fit-all algorithm. So they lost $570 million. They basically lost 80% of their valuation, which is massive. The only thing that they had left standing after the smoldering remnants of Zillow was their premier agent. They're getting about $1 billion a year from you. In other words, they were getting $1 billion of your commissions when you simply didn't have to give it to them. $1 billion. Imagine this. If Zillow didn't exist, every house that sold over the past 10 years would have still sold. We don't need Zillow. They don't need to be in the middle of any of this. Nevertheless, agents gave Zillow $1 billion. So you'd imagine after losing their ass on all of this stuff, that they would probably double down on their premier agent. Did they do that? No. They did something fundamentally different. They said, we're going to make major changes to our premier agent program. What they did was they said, we're going to try to get rid of all the real estate agents and premier agent. Now, why would they do that? This is the only thing that they have left. And they're saying, we have a new strategy and we want to get rid of most of the agents. And so they started testing in 2 markets, a fully integrated experience for a handful of agents that they deemed to be worthy of the test. And here's what they're doing. They're saying, we're not going to take any money from the agents. We're going to give you the leads. What we want to do is we want to have a fulfillment fee, and that's going to be 25 to 35%, depending on the sales price in the area. So they're dumping all of their money. This is their goal. Now, they think, obviously, that they're going to make more money doing it this way. Now, Zillow listen, I've got a lot of things to say about Zillow, and most of them aren't nice. But you got to admit, these guys are pretty good at marketing. They're pretty smart about the stuff that they do. Maybe not their execution, but putting themselves in a position to win, yeah, they're really good at doing that. So I thought, well, this is interesting. Why would they get rid of the only profitable piece that they have left after this absolutely horrible experience? Because they think they can make more money. And the reason for that is because they know from their premier agents, the $1 billion that they're getting, most of the agents are paying for this. I mean, thousands of dollars per month in some areas, but they're not calling the leads. They're not following up. They're not doing the things that they need to do to convert the leads into deals. And then what happens is these agents say these leads suck, and they quit their premier agent, and then they have to go find somebody else. And so it's a constant game of churning, and that creates its own set of problems. So they said, fine, we're going to get rid of the agents who don't call their leads, and we're just going to simply take a bigger piece of the pie from the agents who do, and we'll give them all the leads. So here's what I said earlier. They're money hemorrhaging. We know the numbers over here. 73% of their 2021 revenue came from their iBuying program, and they had to kill that whole thing. So they started it's part of like what they call their flex program. And what they're doing is they're partnering with what they deem to be the best agents in any market. And they're introducing you to home shoppers by creating a connection live over the phone, and you pay a success fee, as I told you before, to Zillow upon closing a transaction with a buyer or seller. So they're actually doing live transfers, which is the best way to get one. If you have somebody who's hot to trot on the phone, you want to make sure that you're talking to that person immediately. I spoke with the real estate team in St. Louis, Missouri, just a couple of days ago, and they have when they have their leads that come in, they have a whole process of lead generation. Their whole goal is to call a lead back within a minute if they don't pick it up. That's their goal, because they know if they don't call that lead back almost immediately, that person is going to another site. Because we know how we work on the internet, everything is only a click away, isn't it? So here's the funny part. Like I said, by invitation only, you can't be a part of this. You're not allowed. Now, if you want to, you can go ahead and you can start to show them that you're going to engage in the in the habits that they're looking for if you want to be a part of it. But when this whole thing started in Atlanta and Phoenix, it's by invitation only. Okay, only selected agents by Zillow. Now, here's the funny part. Again, as I told you, 20 to 35% of commission over there. Okay, here's the funny thing. Here's what Zillow is looking for in their premier agents. Like, if you're going to be a part of this thing, part of their flex program, and this is a killer program because you're going to get a ton of leads in it, they want 4 things from you. The first thing that they want from you, imagine this: answer your phone. Answer your phone when a connection is delivered to you as often as available. Now, how many of you pick up your phone on a regular basis? And don't raise your hands, because we don't need to. I mean, you might think you do, but I'll tell you this: I've done this a multitude of times where I would call agents in any given market, and if I called 20 agents, 2 would pick up. That's anywhere. That is standard across the country. Now, there is no higher and better use of your time as a real estate agent than to pick up your phone. Just nothing. There's nothing that you could do that's better than that. Because in a world of parity, I'm going to work with who I know, like, and trust. And there's no better way to get to know, like, and trust somebody than to actually have conversations with them, to interact with them, to get to know that person. To see them is better than to speak with them on the phone, but if you can't see them, speaking with them on the phone is a great starting place. But isn't it kind of crazy that a multi-billion-dollar company is scratching everything and they're looking for 4 points from a real estate agent? And the first one is simply, can you pick up your phone? And that speaks volumes to this industry as a whole. And I'm telling you right now, going forward, is this a conversation we're going to have with Brian right now? Yeah, this is it. Pick up your phone. The second point is convert your connections to in-person appointments. So after you pick up your phone and you're speaking with that person, you got to go talk with them, and you got to go talk with them in person. Again, when you get to see somebody and interact with them, you get to see how their mannerisms, the inflections in their voice, how they conduct themselves. And then once you do that, here's the thing. When if you're to make a cold call to somebody, they're going to tune you out. They're not going to hear you because they don't know you. Like, we don't hear people until we know them, until we're invested in that person to some extent. So we have to find a way to get invested first. So you have that conversation on the phone. You want to find a way to go ahead and turn that into an in-person appointment, because when we do that, then that person becomes invested in us. And only then are they going to hear the words coming out of our mouth. Only then are they going to hear the propositions that we're offering them. So like in a market right now, for example, we know right now that there are 20% of all homeowners right now are 60 to 90 days behind on their mortgage. These are pre-foreclosures waiting to happen. And most of these folks have their head in the sand, and they're going to wait for the sheriff to come knock on their door. Well, wouldn't it be better if you could actually get in front of those people and say, hey, listen, it's a lot cheaper for you to sell your house today, realize your equity, go rent a place, sock your money away, and live to fight another day. And it's going to be a hell of a lot cheaper than facing a foreclosure. Of course, that would be great counsel for you to give somebody, but they're not going to hear that unless they're invested in you. So the point being here, if we can have an in-person appointment, then people are going to start to hear us. The next one is guide your clients to a successful transaction. Isn't this groundbreaking stuff, guys? I mean, isn't this ridiculously simple? But this is speaking to what Zillow thinks most agents aren't doing. So guide our clients to a successful transaction. Okay, so let's get this straight so far. Pick up your phone, see them in person, have a successful transaction, and then maintain a high client experience score by providing great service. Oh my God, give great service. Can you imagine that? Keep your past sales up to date and add new transactions as they occur. This is what the most successful real estate-based company in the history of the world thinks that the real estate industry as a whole is not doing. Now, as an industry, frankly, this is kind of embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we can't do the bare fundamentals of our business to be successful. It's remarkable. So what can we do to be successful in 2023 and beyond? Pick up our phone, in-person conversations, successful transactions, give great service, and keep in touch with your clients post-closing. It's like, yeah, Brian, I understand that, but are we doing it? We're not doing it as a whole. We need to commit to this. Here's the thing. Changing our habits are very difficult to do. I read a book called, I forget, Something Habits, but they said something that I thought was really interesting. If we're not used to doing these things right now, it's remarkably hard to change. Habits are like, when you're a kid, a habit is like a weed. Like if you have a little weed, you got a bad habit, you can just pull that weed right out of the ground. It's like, you can change that habit when you're younger. But as you get older, that weed gets bigger. You get a big weed, it starts to get harder to pull out of the ground. Eventually, those weeds turn into trees when you become our age, or at least my age. It's hard to change any habit. Try pulling a tree out of the ground. Our habits are so remarkably ingrained that we have to consciously think about changing these things on a moment-by-moment basis. When I read this, I can't remember what it's called. But anyways, the point is like, I thought, okay, I'm going to change my habits. I'm going to change something. So I have my daughter, my youngest daughter. She's a wallflower. She's very, very quiet. And, but I drive her to school, and the drive to school is 5 minutes, maybe somewhere around there. And when I'm driving her to school, she really opens up. And on the way to school, she's like, Dad, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And so she really opens up to me. But what I do is I turn up my sports talk radio, and that's what I've done, for a couple of years. I'm like, I'm losing an opportunity. Like, how stupid am I? Here's what I'm going to change. I'm going to turn the radio off for those 5 minutes, and I'm going to sit down and engage my daughter. And I did that for like 4 days. And on the 5th day, I found myself turning that radio on. You just instinctively, because that's my habit. That's what I do. That's what I've done for 20 years. I turn my radio on. I drink my coffee. I go to work, And I thought, if I can't change a habit to turn my radio down for 5 minutes to listen to my daughter, how the hell am I going to change things that are important to my business? I just keep that in mind. Like when we're looking at our habits, we might say that we pick up our phone, we turn these into in-person conversations, we have great transactions, and our service is impeccable. Is it really? We got to be honest with ourselves. And what we have to do, and even if you believe that to your core, to the marrow in your bones, if you believe that, prove it to yourself and think about this consciously on every single one of your transactions and every single conversation that you have. If you do this, I'll bet you there's a deal every quarter in here by simply giving better service and picking our phone up more often. I absolutely believe that. Now, here's the problem that we have right now, is there are forces that are working against you. Now, Realtor.com, they partnered with Open Door. Now, Open Door is your enemy. They're an iBuying platform. They're completely diabolically opposed to everything that you do. And they may not be in your market, but they're coming to a market near you. They were almost killed 6 months ago, but they're already starting to come back. I'm seeing it in markets all across the country. And what they're doing is they're taking deals away from real estate agents. Now, this is every iBuying platform. I want you to think about this for a second. You have a fiduciary to who? To your clients. That means that you have an obligation to put their needs above your needs. And that's a reasonable place to be. Open Door, the likes of OfferPad and other iBuying platforms, they have a fiduciary too. But it's not to the people in your community who are selling their houses, who are buying homes. They have a fiduciary to their shareholders, don't they? Because that's what they have a moral and legal obligation, as do you, to make as much money as humanly possible for their shareholders. You see? Now, if I'm making money for my shareholders and my target are people in your community, what does that mean I have to do to them? I have to literally screw people over in Sheboygan as much as humanly possible so I can make as much money as I can to provide that for my shareholders, because my fiduciary is to them, my legal and moral obligation. It is absolutely the opposite of what yours is. Further, in Sheboygan, See what your average person's making $30,000 there, $187,000 median sales price. It's not the richest community in the country, is it? It's cute as hell. I've been looking at pictures all day. It's a super, super cute community. But here's what you can ill afford, is to take the money that would be your commissions and strip mine them and send them off to the likes of San Francisco and Seattle. Now, when you work with iBuyers, that's what takes place. Now, when somebody closes a deal with you, what do? You recycle that money in your community. Your commissions go back, you get new tires, you go to a coffee shop, you sponsor your kid's soccer team, like all the things that we do, but that money goes back into your community where everybody in Sheboygan benefits, and that's exactly where it should be. So the point being here is when we look at the likes of these iBuying platforms, which are succeeding wildly and expanding just crazily across the country right now, we have to do better to keep these people at bay, because your community needs you to stop them from infiltrating your city and doing it harm. And I find it really weird that the likes of Realtor.com are partnering with your enemy. Now, we know that Rupert Murdoch and those guys over there, whatever the media core, we know that Realtor.com is not owned by the National Association of Realtors. They sold that for profit a long time ago. So, but the whole idea that the name Realtor.com, it's an implicit endorsement of Open Door. Your namesake, what you guys spend your time, your money, and years to develop a reputation as being a realtor, being an important thing. It's an endorsement for something that is not good for your community. The fix is in. Why? Here's the reason. Why are the likes of Open Door, OfferPad, Zillow, all these tech companies? Remember, we're talking about big and small, guys, big and small right now. Because everybody believes that technology makes things better, faster, and cheaper. We have this inherent bias that if we have anything where technology is involved, that it's gonna be better, it's gonna be faster, it's gonna be cheaper. And we believe this because you used to be able to buy a book on this site called Amazon. You could get 15% off and they deliver it the next day. Well, that's better, faster, and cheaper. What about buying a pair of shoes? Well, it's cheaper. It's not faster. Is it better? Have you ever put on a pair of shoes and they didn't fit right? So you said, give me a half size bigger. Well, if you're buying a pair of shoes online, you got to pack those things up, ship them back off to Seattle, or they'll ship you some in a few days. It's a pain in the ass. So technology doesn't always make things better, faster, and cheaper, but this is implicitly believed. It's implied that this is going to be the case with everything. And this is why a lot of these iBuying platforms are succeeding. And by the way, this is the reason why Wall Street is backing them to the tune of billions and billions of dollars. Did you know that Zillow has a valuation that is higher than every real estate company in the country times 4? Zillow is worth more than every single real estate company, every brand, every Keller, every Realogy, every Remax, every Cottage, every Better Home, every Berkshire, every one of them times 4. Are they that much better? Hell no. It's ridiculous. But what we're doing is we are throwing money in areas that aren't necessarily in everybody's best interest. But what that does is it gives these companies a war chest of money to come after you. See, technology, guys, is really nothing more than an asset broker. I was thinking about this. I'm like, well, technology is not always an asset broker. I mean, we use, lenders, you guys are probably using, Encompass over there. I don't know what your loan operating system is or your point of sale is as a mortgage loan officer. But I know that we use technology, I'm sure in the real estate industry, in the same way. We'll go online, we'll get our forms, we'll communicate, with our clients, with our assistants, we'll use technology in a means that's going to be useful for us. But by and large, when we're not at work and we open our computer, what are we doing? We're going and looking for things. We're looking for movie tickets. Well, we're looking for plane tickets. We're looking for, what does a car cost? We're looking for homes on Zillow, things like that. But those are all middlemen, aren't they? Think about this for a minute. Fandango. Like, you can go onto Fandango and buy movie tickets. But I could go to my local AMC or I could go online with my local AMC and I could buy tickets directly from them. Yet when I go search movie tickets, Fandango comes up before my local AMC. So if I go on to Fandango and buy tickets to my local AMC, the only thing that's going to take place is my local AMC is going to lose 20% of the revenue on that because Fandango is going to take money off the top. They're an asset broker. When you go to Yelp, if you go to, I used to go to Yelp all the time when I'd go travel around and like look for the best like barbecue or look for the best whatever it is. Well, if I order something on Yelp, Yelp is going to take 20%. Yet I could go online and find basically any restaurant I want and go directly to them and keep that money in the pocket of the small business. eBay, asset broker, taking money. Travelocity, same thing. Bookings.com. The one that really got me was Carvana. I was watching this thing and I had seen Carvana a bunch and I was watching it and they said, well, Carvana will now buy your used car. I'm like, Carvana. I mean, I never really thought about it. I mean, they're an asset broker. They're just finding a way to buy low and sell high, which, by the way, let me back up here for a second. That's another thing that like the likes of Open Door are doing. The only way that those models work, the iBuying platforms work, is they have to buy properties for less than what they're worth because they have to put a margin in for themselves because they're an asset broker as well. Well, how good is that for people in your community? How good is that for comps in your area? I mean, if they're buying, if they go into Sheboygan and they're buying properties 20% below what they're worth on a regular basis, appraisers are going to have to look at that eventually, and it's going to pull your property values down even further. Now, if you notice here, when we started like with Fandango, and this is interesting, when this whole thing started, the asset broker approach to technology began with really small ticket items, movie tickets, my local Mexican food or whatever the case, with Yelp, with eBay. But you notice as we go up, as time has progressed, we've gotten bigger and bigger with the ticket prices on these things. And most recently, we've seen the OfferPads, Open Doors, and Zillows. What could be bigger than buying a house? We are taking the same, these iBuying platforms are taking the same approach as buying a movie ticket. There's no professionalism in this. There's no great professional real estate agents working for these companies. It's a movie ticket approach. And that also is another thing that is going to hurt your community. And by the way, hurt your friends. If you have your friends, your neighbors, people in your community who end up using these platforms, it's not good for them. It's not good for you. It's not good for anybody. Frankly, we have an obligation if we start seeing these companies pop up in our area to really kind of, let our communities know what's going on with these guys. They don't have everyone's best interest in mind. So why, by the way, why do these companies succeed right now? Well, I told you the fix is in. Now, you guys have probably heard of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is, let's think about this for a second. They're a bureau, okay, that are put together to protect consumers' finances, their money. Okay, so I got a bureau that's there to protect me and my money. I like that. I like that. I like that idea. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau finalized a policy to facilitate consumer access to financial products and services that promise substantial benefit to consumers. Woo! We like that. The new policy establishes a process for companies to apply for a statement from Bureau staff that would reduce regulatory uncertainty for a new product or service that offers for potential significant, I got to move this. Where am I? Oh, hang tight. Give me a second here, guys. I got to move this. You can't see this. There we go. Let me move this up here. For potential for significant consumer-friendly innovation. Now, these words, we have weaponized words, my friends. The policy was proposed October 2014. It did not go into effect in 2014. Didn't go into effect 2016. But look at the words that they're using here. Consumer-friendly, innovation, benefit to consumers, a process for companies to apply for a statement from Bureau staff. Like, these are all positive terms. So what are they actually talking about doing? Now, this is part of the Office of Innovation, at the time, a newly minted facet of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. They put together the Office of Innovation because they want to have technology be a part of the real estate and lending process. So what does that look like? Well, let me tell you this. Out in Arizona, like this is where all these technology companies, these real estate based and these mortgage based technology companies, this is where this whole thing had run amok. If you go out there, you can't swing a dead cat around without hitting one of these signs from like one of these iBuying platforms. And there's a million of them. So they put together this thing in Arizona called the sandbox laws. And, you know, a sandbox where you can kind of, you know, build a castle in the sandbox and kick it over and then build it up again. That's the idea behind it. The sandbox enables a participant to obtain limited access to Arizona's markets to test innovation, to test innovative financial products or services without first obtaining full state license or other authorizations or otherwise may be required. Ooh, now this is where it gets a little tricky. You have participants who can use Arizona's market. Now that is Arizona's citizens. These are the people who live in Arizona. You can go in without a license into Arizona and test unknowingly on the citizens of Arizona new financial products without obtaining a license or authorization that otherwise would be required. How do you like that? Somebody coming in, testing things on you, like a lab rat, without any type of license, and they don't require any authorization from anyone. That doesn't sound like consumer protection to me. But this was deemed as such a good idea in Arizona. The CFPB looked at this. They hired the person to run the Office of Innovation who wrote all the sandbox laws in Arizona. So right now, as we stand here, if you want to know why these companies are just flourishing across the country, it's because we now have Arizona sandbox laws across the country. What does that look like? Okay, and this is directly out of the mouth of the CFPB, right? I don't need to make any of this stuff up. Creating policies and sandboxes through which we reduce potential barriers to innovation. You see the term sandbox. Reduce potential barriers to innovation. Do you want to know what barriers to innovation are? That would be called regulation. The regulation that governs real estate agents, mortgage lenders. And here's the whole thing. Real estate companies and mortgage companies, they work hand in hand, and oftentimes real estate companies and mortgage companies are together. Now, listen to how crazy this gets. The Bureau may permit covered persons, that would be a company, to conduct trial disclosure programs limited in time and scope for the purpose of providing, disclosing, designing, to improve upon model forms within the Bureau's jurisdiction. Let's go down here. The Bureau may deem a covered person, okay, that would be a company, conducting such a program, okay, to be in compliance with, we like compliance, don't we? I mean, at the end of the day, don't we like compliance? So the Bureau may deem a company conducting one of these experiments on a program to be in compliance with, yes, or exempt from. What? Are you compliant or exempt? You can be compliant or you don't have to be compliant. A requirement of a rule or enumerated consumer law. Now, does that make any sense to you? The CFPB says a company can go in there and they can test things on your clients and they can either be compliant or not compliant. I don't understand that. Similarly, although the Bureau's rules must provide for public disclosures of the program, yes, okay, we got to publicly disclose what we're doing. Such public disclosures may be limited to the extent necessary to encourage the company to conduct effective trials. All right, so the Bureau says they can come in, guinea pig your friends, your neighbors, your family with programs that they don't know what the outcome is going to be. It either needs to be compliant or it doesn't need to be compliant. They either need to disclose it if they want to, but if it's going to stop people from using it, then they don't need to disclose it. Does this sound like consumer protection to you? Yeah, this is verbatim. I took this directly from the CFPB. Now, if you're deemed a technology company, you can get away with murder. You can do whatever you want to do. Why are these companies succeeding so wildly right now? One, because we believe that technology makes everything better, faster, and cheaper, so the fix is in. But the other one is they don't have to go by the rules and laws and regulations that govern me and you. Frankly, I find this criminal. Now, here's the whole thing that's kind of a trip. Hang tight, guys. I have to move this stuff around so I can see what I'm doing. And give me a second here. Okay. Now, are these companies better? Now, these are, over the years, I've picked up stuff. People will send things to me, closing statements, stuff of that nature. So up top is a open door closing statement. Okay, so the open door experience charge, that's a commission, but they call it an experience charge. Change the names and then you can charge more. That's a commission. That's what you would call your commission. They're calling it an experience fee. You ought to tell your clients that, oh, no. It's not a commission. It's an experience fee. You're learning something right now. I'm teaching and I'm getting 6% for it. So they're calling it an experience charge. And by the way, half the reason they're doing this is because there's a class action lawsuit against every real estate agent in the country right now for the money that you make and the commissions that you earn. So the term commission is being used against you, and it's being lobbied by these tech companies who have billions of dollars in their coffers to hire lobbyists to ensure that these class action lawsuits are going to go through. Doesn't matter if you win or lose. The fact is they're dragging your reputation and what you do and the terms that you use through the mud. So they simply changed it. We're going to call it an experience charge. 19,434. By the way, that 19,434 bucks, that's 7.5%. Have any of you ever charged 7.5%? Probably not. Now that we've got the SCRB repairs, that could be a credit report. If it is a credit report, if it's a rapid rescore, whatever the case may be, I've never seen $6,000 for a credit report. If it's repairs on a house, it's speculation. Now, the third thing, which I like the best, they have this thing called an open door market risk fee. Have you ever went to a client and said, you know what, this market's pretty damn risky right now. I got to charge you 4% for that. So they got 7.5% up top, 4% over there, and they got that market risk fee. When we start looking at this, it's about 18% that they're charging. Have any of you ever charged 18%? And the answer is emphatically no. So not only are they doing all the harmful things that I've talked about, they're doing it to the tune of 3 or 4 times what you would charge, which is even more harmful to people in your community. Guys, it's the same thing with OfferPad. It's the same thing with Zillow. Now, when we go and look down what real estate agents charge over the years, it fluctuates, it vacillates, it goes up and down. Why is that? Because the fix isn't in. In certain markets at different times, you guys will change your commissions. You're not beholden to a 6% commission. And these companies are working with every home builder. You could go to any home builder, and I guarantee you there's a landing page for every one of them. The fix is in. And I know this sounds like you're like, oh my God, Brian, this is horrible. This is horrible. No, it's not, actually. Here's the funny thing. If you guys do the things that you're supposed to do, they can't compete with you because all they can do is blast on a macro level, do things that are wildly impersonal. They can go take radio spots. They can take TV spots. They can do all of these things, but it's very impersonal. If you get in front of your clients, the 1.6 million real estate agents out there, if you guys get in front of your clients on a regular basis, you can canvass the entire country and you can say, don't work with these guys because they have a legal and moral obligation to do you harm. Working with a real estate agent is going to be cheaper. And by the way, it may not be faster, but it's going to be better because you guys got these things called checks and balances. You're going to go in there and you're going to kick the wheels of the house, aren't you? You're going to get your inspections. You're going to negotiate the price of that property back and forth. You are going to have your client's best interest in mind. So you may not be faster, but you are better and you are certainly cheaper. So what's the goal? We got to go small when they go big. What does that mean? Let me pull out here real quick. So I'll show you what that means. A couple of things here. If we go to, for example, all right, so if we go to, I don't order from Yelp, but here's a Sheboygan Yelp. Like we have all of these small businesses here. There's a ton of them. I'm just pulling up restaurants right now, but you have all of these small businesses and there's a billion of them. Look at all the pages that we have here. And we can go in here and we can just go ahead and search anything. But I'd venture to say that you guys probably have places that you go to on a regular basis. You guys have the restaurants that you go to. You have I go to the same coffee shop every day. I get my haircut at the same place. I get my lunch at the same place every day. The people in my community where I go, they know me and I know them. But what I'm not doing is I'm not creating the opportunities that I need to. Okay, we want to go local. And by the way, think about this. If I go work with my small businesses in my community, they're a database. Like my coffee shop that I have across the street, I bet, how many people spend too much money on a cup of coffee every day? 100? I don't know. 100, 200? But here's the thing. Everybody who gets a cup of coffee, they all want to live indoors. Every one of them. Nobody wants to live underneath a freeway overpass. Now, that's a database. So every small business in my community is a database. Why would I not work with them? Why would I not try to find a way to share benefit? And I mean share benefit. I work with them, they work with me. Now, this is a very easy thing to do, but it's going to require you guys coming out of your skin a little bit. And by the way, we could do this with any place. We have a place called Posh or Paws or something like that, where you go there and they groom your dog and give it all the shots, and you can buy all the stuff you want for your dog and all that. They have in a 3-block area in downtown Vacaville. This is small town California, guys. Vacaville means Cowtown. I live in Cowtown, California. In this 3-block area, there's like 75 businesses. So why wouldn't I go and try to have a conversation with all of them and see if we can have mutually beneficial conversations? I did this with the coffee shop I go to. It's called Pure Grain. I sat down and did an interview with them to share with my database, with my sphere of influence. I want to let them know why I think Pure Grain is great. So what I did is I interviewed them. Never dawned on me to sit down and talk with this family. Turns out that they are from Stuttgart, Germany. Now, you don't go from Stuttgart, Germany, and you don't come to Vacaville. Nobody in Stuttgart's going, I need to go to Vacaville. No. How the hell do you get here? So I decided to sit down and see if I can interview them, and I did. And they're wonderful. They're fantastic. They told me how they started learning how to make pastries over in Germany, and they brought their skill set over here, and they deliver to all the top restaurants in San Francisco and Napa and areas around here. And they have a daughter who's 27, and she was 27, and she just got her American citizenship 2 weeks earlier. Proudest moment of her life. I thought, what a cool story. So I got to share this with my sphere of influence. How neat is that? And I also got to tell my sphere of influence, hey guys, go over here to Pure Grain and check out their stuff, because their pastries are killer, their coffee is great, and it's locally owned. Now, if they're going to find somebody who wants to buy or sell a house, who do you think they're going to call? There's only one person they're going to call. It's going to be the one person who showed consideration for their business. And all I did was what's the highest and best use of my time. It's something that these huge companies can't do. I went small. I went and I covered the details, didn't I? I had a meaningful conversation with a small business. I would do this all the time. I've got people around the country who do this. I got this gal named Mary Catherine. She's in Festus, Missouri. Festus, Missouri is even smaller than Sheboygan. And but she went around to all of her businesses, and she had these meaningful conversations, and she absolutely destroys it out there. So going small is where we need to be. Well, hell, Brian, how do we do that? Very simple. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, guys. Okay. Now, most of you don't like the idea of doing video, but you need to get over it, because you're the people who decided to go into real estate. You chose a sales position, not me. And in sales, it's really a numbers game. How many people can you get in front of? Turn that into an in-person conversation. Lead them to a transaction. Give them great service and stay in front of them. It's the 4 points that Zillow talked about. This is all we need to do. Here's what we do, guys. We make videos. Now, if we want to use Facebook, and you can use any type of social media platform, you can actually even make videos and you can send them out on email to your database, which is what we do if you subscribe to the National Real Estate Post. But here's the cool thing. All you have to do, if you have Facebook, is you just go to your site and you take your index finger, okay, and you hit return, and you put that over the record button, and you're going. That's all you need to do. You don't need to edit things. You don't need your videos to be spectacular. Frankly, all of our videos, we put them into massive editing, and it's a whole production. And the more I look at it, people don't want that anymore. Look at all the TikTok videos. Look at Instagram. Look at Facebook. Most people don't use any type of editing right now. And we like the idea of this whole thing kind of feeling real, feeling organic. So you could sit down with somebody in a small business, or you don't even need them there. You can just sit down and shoot a video and make sure you give it a great header. Hey, by the way, I want to talk about local businesses here. Or dare I say, if you guys want to get really foolish, you could create a separate page. Small businesses in Sheboygan. Something to that effect. Now, you're like, well, now everyone's going to do it. No, you're not. Remember, I told you only 10% of the people pick up their phone. How many people do you think are actually going to go make a separate page to advocate for a community? Very few. And it doesn't need to be Sheboygan. It could be the name of your community. It could be a neighborhood. It could be anything. You could create a separate page. But what we want to do is we want to create a platform to where we're advocating to our database for small businesses. This creates the whole idea of reciprocity. Reciprocity being, if I do something nice for you, chances are you're going to want to return that favor. It's human nature. Well, I shouldn't say that. Not everybody's just a taker. Well, not everyone's just a giver. The whole idea is reciprocity is real. You do something nice for somebody or a company, they want to return that favor. So what we do is we go out there and we talk about Pure Grain. I hit go and I put a great header up there. Pure Grain, Vacaville, California, the greatest coffee shop and bakery that nobody knows about. You should check it out. And then I could go ahead and shoot my video. Hey guys, just want to let you know I go into Pure Grain every day. It's in downtown Vacaville. You could even go talk with the owner and let them know what you're going to do. And they might offer up a coupon. Or you might just say, hey, listen, let them know that you saw this video and they'll give you 10% off your order. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that you can play this thing. But here's the thing. Like on this video that I shot, just so uninteresting, right? Really kind of is. But I got 71 shares and I got 160 comments. Well, I mean, when was the last time you had, like hundreds of conversations on a daily basis? Well, this is a way that I can keep things small, but I can go ahead and I can replicate my voice. And people, by the way, on video are getting to know, like, and trust me, aren't they? They're seeing me, they're hearing me, they're understanding me. And by the way, some people might say, this guy's a schmuck. I don't want to see him. And that's fine because I don't need to be everybody's cup of tea. In fact, I don't even want to be. I only want people to watch me who kind of like what I have to say. And I like to interact with the people who I have common ground with. Here's another one here. 232 comments, 448 shares. I mean, the numbers could be wildly successful. And here's some of the post engagements that you get. So I get post engagements and impressions over here. 36,512 impressions. Your posts reach 34,000. I mean, the numbers, the multiplying factor here on shooting videos is simple. Then here's what we need to do, guys. What you have to do is if you decide to go down this road and engage companies in your community, you want to go ahead and do this and make sure you do it on a regular basis. That's the only thing. Consistency wins. It just does. If you're going to do it on a weekly basis, do it on a weekly basis. If you're going to do it biweekly, do it biweekly. But whatever you say you're going to do, you have to stick with it. I go back to what Zillow said. We are looking for people who are capable of doing the absolute bare minimum and mundane because we're not getting that in real estate. If we can do that and we can apply some of these skills by staying small, you'll succeed in 23. And you don't need to buy anything. That's the whole point. There's nothing that you need to buy. You don't need to buy coaching. You don't need to buy products. Everything that you have to be successful is at your disposal. And frankly, 99% of it is right between your ears. All you have to do is 99%, perspiration, 1% inspiration. Now, how am I doing on time? Are we doing good?
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes.
And then are we taking questions?
Yep, if anybody has questions, we'll take a few of those.
Okay, I'll show you. By the way, I'll just show you like a great little strategy that you can do that will get you a ton of engagement. So if I go, okay, so I go here, and then I'm going to go over to, let me see. All right, tight. All right. So I'm going to go over to, I'm going to go to my friends. Okay. I'm going to go to birthdays. Okay. Now, I'm not, like when it's your birthday, your timeline on Facebook, like just gets blown up. Like, you get like 1 million people who don't know you're wishing you a happy birthday. It's like, why is that? Well, Facebook's telling them to do it. I change my birthday every month. So my birthday is January 8th. I changed it to February 8th, March 8th, April 8th. And I did this for 6 months. So I had a birthday every month and nobody caught it. It just kept blowing on my timeline because people aren't thinking about what they're doing. So like when people send out like these ridiculous well wishes that have no meat on the bone, what do? We just tune it out. It's not being thoughtful. So what I do is I'll go find somebody like, let's go tomorrow. So what I'll do is I'll go find this person and I'll send a message and I'll say something like this. I have no idea who this person is. Hey.
What's it say, Brian?
Let's see. I'll tell you a second. So what I did is I wrote over here, I said, hey, Banjit, I said, I know that your birthday is tomorrow. I wanted to get in front of all of this, all the noise and say happy birthday and go do something fun and crazy. So I'm going to send that to him right now. So I'm not sending it on his birthday. I'm sending it the day before. Now, the only one that this person is going to notice is going to be mine, because tomorrow when their timeline gets blown up by just noise, none of it matters. But I'm doing it the day before, saying, hey, I want to get in front of this and just wish you a happy birthday. You just go do something fun. It doesn't even really matter what you say, but I'm basically doing something and I'm finding a way to stand out. Now, I've gone through and I've done this as a strategy. Like if you have like on your social media sites, if you have, like most everybody does, a ton of people on there who frankly you don't know, or maybe you do, it doesn't really matter. But if you go ahead and go through your birthday lists on your friends list and you find everyone who has a birthday tomorrow, and you can actually put this in a Word document, just copy and paste it, and you just go down and do that, every single one of these people will respond to you. It's got like a 99% engagement rate. So if you're finding it hard to find reasons to call your past clients, your family, and your friends, and frankly, some of the outliers, this is a really great strategy, because what it will do is they'll always respond. And what that does is it begins a conversation, and then it puts you in a position, by the way, you've done something thoughtful, and now you have a chance of actually being heard, and it could start a conversation to find out what their home buying or selling needs are. Like I said, 20% of the people in the country right now need to sell their homes, and they're not doing it. We know that to be a fact. We can start to have meaningful conversations. Hey, by the way, did you know that right now, boy, things are tough in real estate. You know, we know that 20% of the people right now are behind on their mortgage or having a hard time. They're either un or underemployed. And boy, this is a tough place to be, because selling your house is better than the alternative, which is a foreclosure. I mean, we could say, hey, are you buying? Are you looking at moving up? Are you looking at moving down? Have you thought of it? Do you want to know what your house is worth? How are things going with your house? We can start to have meaningful conversations. And when you start poking and prodding, that's when you'll find out things. The only way that you're going to close more business is find a way to have more meaningful conversations with people. And it's really amazing. Sometimes you'll find out that people have kind of, I don't know if I want to buy or sell. But once you have a conversation with them, it makes the whole idea of executing a decision on the real estate needs top of mind. And you start to plan. See, it's kind of like, you know, I bought a car for my daughter. And it's kind of like when you start buying, it's like, all right, so I need to get my daughter a car. So we're kind of looking around at cars. And, you know, by the time I'm done, like looking at cars for my daughter, I'm like, shit, I want a car too. Well, I didn't need a car. I don't want, you know, but that's kind of what happens here. You go to a car lot, you start thinking I need a car. You know, it's just, it starts, when we can plant seeds and make things top of mind, that's when people start to take action. And here's the whole point. If you're the one who plants that seed, you're going to be the person that client is going to call. If we are simply waiting for our phone to ring because we have marketing pieces that we're putting out there, our marketing pieces, when we're basically baiting a hook and throw it in the water, we're just hoping that somebody bites. But here's the whole idea. When somebody is going out and they're looking to either buy or sell a house and they go online, when they're making their home buying intentions known, they're going to go to a bunch of sites. They're not just going to go search you out. They're going to go to Zillow, where their information is going to get sold if they ensnare them. They're going to go to your competition. And what's going to happen is you might ensnare somebody with your marketing pieces, but you're going to be in contention with 4 or 5 other real estate agents. That means you have 1/4 or 1/5 chance of actually landing that client. When you start to engage in this level, you become the one person that they're looking at. And I like my chances when I don't have other real estate agents that I'm working against. So again, executing in this fashion is going to be much more effective for you. And I'll tell you, there's more deals out there. People are going to start to buy and sell. As I told you before, with property values dropping, with the interest rates going down, and more inventory coming on the market, buyers are going to start to come off the fence. This is going to happen, and there's no professional prognosticators who would disagree with that. So with that said, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Great, thank you so much, Brian. Anybody have
Thank
any
you.
questions? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna run over here.
Can you come out of screen share?
What's that? Oh, yeah.
My question is, your data on bankruptcies increasing, is that based on nationwide or on Wisconsin?
No, that would be nationwide, but I would suspect it's going to be pretty similar in all markets. You might have a deviation of 1 or 2%, but that's the case. And frankly, here's the point. Most states have they have forbearance. Of course, they have lots of properties that have been and still are in forbearance. And what we've done is we've taken a lot of our community reinvestment money that we used to use towards down payment assistance, and we have now reapplied that towards people who aren't making their payments. A lot of the desire to do that in most states is starting to disappear. We should have higher foreclosures than what we currently have, and I suspect in 2023 and beyond, we're going to start to see our foreclosures increase as a lot of the aid is going to start to dissipate.
Anybody else? Any more questions? No, Brian, I think we're good. Okay, everybody, thank you so much, Brian. This was a lot of information.
Thank you so much, guys. I hope you all have a good day, and stay safe out there. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Okay.